that we serve in this community, that we have such integrated programs that respond to community needs, and then also serve our community through our students, through this relationship we have with our students. A lot of, as already Matt mentioned, our students have a unique set of experiences they need to accumulate while they're at UTEP. And I want to talk about kind of what our focus is right now with our data science efforts. Right now, I'll just tell you we are very much what I consider to be, I hope to be, our early stages with regard to data science programming at the university. About 3 years ago, we got the Big Data Analytics graduate certificate in the Department of Mathematical Sciences that quickly grew. I think I have around 55 or 56 students involved in that, and this involves students in various master's and PhD level programs across campus who want to develop acumen in the data sciences. We have upcoming, as of this fall, some undergraduate pathways, both through mathematical sciences and computer science, a new master's pathway through computer science, and then an upcoming PhD in data science out of the mathematical sciences department as well. So we have a lot of avenues that are, or pathways that are opening up to students. But remembering our student body, the context of our community, and how we can best integrate high impact practices into this is foremost in our mind so that we can fully serve our students' needs here. So our approach is to build upon the assets that our students have in the region. Our students are very community minded. I've spent many years here working with students on projects. They are excited by projects that impact the health or the economic well-being of people that they know within their community, or the educational impact of people. Students all the time say how important and integral this is to them, that they are serving their community in some capacity as they learn these skills. Because our students are underrepresented in data sciences, we do have some intentional things to integrate as we develop these programs. So for example, we don't have as a university strong data science role models for our students. We have the professors who are involved, but we don't live in a region where data science is a thriving industry. We have some we do have the advantage of being able to send students to national labs, since we are very heavy in the national labs in this region. But that is something I'm trying to really work on with our students, is providing them avenues for making connections, professional connections, building their professional network. So with regard to that, building these our students' professional networks, I'm focusing on integrating research collaborations into the curriculum, especially for the master's and PhD level courses and programs, because a lot of our economic activity has not well integrated data sciences. And so having the opportunity to work with a professional mentor, whether it be remote work or to develop that relationship regionally, or take a little time off to go travel, we are very focused on that. And that is actually part of the curriculum in our new program. But we are also setting up peer mentoring. This is something I really believe in. I've been working on a peer mentoring program for undergraduates for a few years now, and this is very integral to helping students develop a sense of efficacy and identity as scholars within their discipline, and also helps them develop skills that maybe they've never been exposed to these ideas before, in terms of knowing how to dress professionally and interact professionally when they go to conferences. And these peer mentoring structures are really integral for developing this capacity in students. And it's something that we're just beginning with our data science programs because they are just beginning, but we've had a lot of success in other research training programs on campus. Finally, we are emphasizing regional and culturally relevant problems within our collaborations within the program. So we've developed regional partnerships with many companies who wish to start integrating more data analytic work into their organizational process. About, I think, how time flies, 3 or 4 years ago, I had a meeting with several industry leaders, some people from the city as well, and they all agreed that data science was a resource that we lacked regionally. There had never been a pipeline for data scientists in our region, but it was something that they knew was holding us back regionally. We are a major hub here, a binational hub for manufacturing, for healthcare, and general commerce as well, trade, international trade. Much opportunity here that we anticipate that by working on these programs with our regional partners, that they'll be developing these networks, but also developing the skills so that we can create a pipeline that will address the shortage of professionals in our region, and we can start addressing this within the area. And our students, I'll make one last point, that our students work amazingly well in collaborative work environments. This comes, I've worked at, well, just one other university, but I find I'm always amazed at how well our students collaborate and how well they understand the purpose of collaboration and the need for it. And so I think this is something that's going to draw a lot of students who maybe would not have emphasized studying computing and mathematics and things to bring them into this area, because they will see that opportunity for making impact and being able to collaborate and be a team member. All right, so I'll end our talk with just an opportunity for questions. Steve, I don't know if you want to save that for the end.
Yeah, let's save questions till the end, but if you do have a question that you think of and you're worried you'll forget, just drop it into the chat and we'll make sure to get through those. Thank you all for that presentation. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Pamela, do you want to start your sharing and introduce yourself? You're still muted.
Okay, tell me what do you actually see the slides?
We do, yeah.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. This is, I'm Pamela Scott-Johnson. I'm the Dean of Natural and Social Sciences at California State University, Los Angeles. I'm joined by two of my colleagues, Preston Mills, who is our community liaison for our Big Data project, and Haley Ye, who's the Associate Dean of the college. The three of us are really, here to share how we think about diversity and inclusion. I so appreciated Amy and her team giving really an institutional perspective about how they're approaching that. And I appreciate the kind of broad background that she's providing to that. Because many of the areas in which they've talked about, she and her colleagues have talked about, are the very similar ones that we have, whether it's food insecurity, housing insecurity, cultural relevance. I think all of us are appreciative that we're on campuses that allow us to think about that. And so what we're going to do is, so I like the fact that, Amy and I were kind of like paper, scissors, rocks, who's going to go first. It's really great that she started first so that we could start from the broad, and then our group would come down to the specific projects for which we are engaged that allows us to understand that. So we're going to talk about the fact that we're increasing diversity and inclusion in data science for solving culturally relevant social problems. And that's really how we think about it and how we've been approaching the work that we've done. So our agenda is that I'll share some of the goals that we have. Preston will share, and I'll share a little bit about our institution. I think that's important. Preston will share a little bit about what our project is. I think I got a note from Haley saying that she might have to go to another meeting for with colleagues, and if she's not here, I will share her slides. And then we're going to end our conversation talking about the barriers to inclusion, because I think that conversations like this help us think about how to reimagine and reconceptualize what we're doing. So California State University has, and this is information from this spring, as many of our campuses, students may start in the fall and not return in the spring for various reasons, notwithstanding COVID. And then as we have been able to engage this semester, we've been really able to integrate a COVID mentality, if you will. That is, look at innovation and where we can go rather than what we're losing. And I think that really gives me a different kind of hope in this context. So California State University has about 23,000 students, 24,000 students. 58 or 59% are female, 42% are male. Some don't have, we have individuals who are non-gender conforming. And 68% of our students are Latino, Chicano. I know the national term is Hispanic, but we live in California, so we have to be careful because language is everything. About 12, 13% of our students are of Asian descent, Asian American and Asian background. Predominantly Vietnamese, Cambodian, Laotian, Filipino. And so the context, and we live in one of the largest areas of Chinese descendants in the San Gabriel Valley, short of the Washington state area. You have other demographics that describe our students, and since I'm not sure where I'm looking, if you're seeing the big screen or not, I just want to share that. So then what about the college? So of that 24,000 students, the college has about 53,000 students, predominantly female, predominantly Hispanic again, first generation. We're improving on our first year freshmen. We have been a campus that has had more transfer students. We're really a transfer hub. I would also say that we're also an institution that is commuter. We are in the process of building 2,000 bed housing facility, which is going to be interesting as we think about students coming on our campuses. And I'm certainly willing to give these my slides to Steve. All right, so what are our goals? What do we want to do for our diverse student body and our diverse population? And why did we start on this? I will go back and say, we don't have a formal department or program in data science. What we do have are faculty members who are engaged in data science-oriented fields and disciplines. Our colleagues in engineering, they're two individuals who are data science oriented through computer science. We have in the School of Business, information systems, and our colleagues with whom we partner, particularly for women in data science, through the School of Business. Certainly we have statistics and mathematics, but we don't have a cohesive data science platform. So because data science is so broad in its definition and so broad in its terms, we now know that we have to think more broadly about what that means. So what are our goals? We want to increase our students' quantitative reasoning by providing them skills that allow them culturally relevant investigative opportunities. We want to provide them opportunities to influence the curriculum and their career readiness. We would like to build and increase the capacity for nonprofits, because many of our students see themselves very much like our colleagues at UTEP as being able to go out and service their community and address issues that will build the community and build the capacity of the community. We're also an anchor institution, so we have a regional focus on economic development. We would like to show students how to use open data portals to address and implement strategic priorities and solve social concerns and problems. And then we'd like to offer additional and innovative opportunities for faculty research through different kinds of technology. So I'm going to actually stop here. My colleague Preston is on the line, and I would like to introduce Preston. He has really been a key component. He is embedded down at the City of Los Angeles. He is also a member of our team. Our project is in collaboration with Community Partners, which is a nonprofit organization that provides the administrative support to a number of organizations, Cal State LA and our faculty and students, and then the City of Los Angeles. And so I'm now going to turn it over to Preston. Preston?
Thank you so much, Dean. Is there any way that I could share my screen really quickly?
Yeah.
Or you just tell me to move the slide and I'll hit enter.
Okay. All right. Just because on my screen, what I'm seeing is a small little box, maybe.
Or yeah,
Okay.
if you want to unshare, then Preston will be able to share.
Okay. Yeah, and that's because I think that's because I have one of those divided screens. So maybe that's what it is. So
Okay.
Preston, I will let me actually, yeah, so I can either send my edits to you or you just go for it.
All righty, sounds good. And then, yeah. So thank you all for having me. It's really exciting to hear from our colleagues over in Texas, specifically because as soon as I heard kind of the work that you are doing with the Carnegie Foundation, it brought me back to my campus compact days and all the work that I did with them. So really awesome work. And so I really want to just start off by saying that the work with the community partners in the City of Los Angeles is really embedded in this notion of we need to prepare and equip our students with the capacity to look at the world around them and see the data science that's occurring naturally. Oftentimes, you know, students, one of the times that I actually had a conversation with my classroom during a workshop, you know, we talked about all of these pollutants that we can kind of indicate through place-based GIS data and kind of looking at their communities and, you know, asking a simple question like, what does this mean for you all if your community is faced with higher PM 2.5 emissions, looking at all of the different types of soil contaminants and different kinds of issues that are structurally and institutionally embedded in some of our communities. And a lot of our students said, we need to move, you know, but really what we had in that discussion was to say, there's also another option. There's advocacy, there's research, there's collaboration. And so something that really came out of this particular grant and the work that we're doing with the students is this notion of empowerment, but also really applying data in a way that can really be utilized in a way that spans across disciplines. Since we have students, you know, in mathematics that are from, you know, South Central, we have students in English that are from Alhambra. We've got students of all different interests all over, faced with a lot of different types of community challenges. And so one of the kind of grounding principles of this grant is that partnership is key in terms of actually building that empowerment for our students and providing the resources that they need to implement and enact change in their communities using data. And so we do that by partnering with Community Partners, which is a local nonprofit that serves as an incubator for a lot of our smaller nonprofits that don't have the capacity to kind of, you know, do their payroll, do X, Y, and Z. But we also partner with the City of Los Angeles because they host 2 large open data portals. one of them being Data.LA City, and then what we actually are partnering with them on is the GeoHub. And so what students are actually kind of able to do are partner with local nonprofits utilizing the city's GeoHub to really build the capacity of both their nonprofits that are faced with community challenges, but also train students and faculty to realize that data science can be implemented and embedded into virtually any discipline. And so we're going to be unpacking that during this presentation a bit, but some of the kind of findings, I guess you could say, and some of the quantitative pieces that we sometimes highlight is the fact that as of this month, we've had over 150 data projects from our students. We've also partnered with over 50 nonprofits served, and we have had over 7 interns, keeping in mind that this program actually started last January. And so the way that the model is kind of set up is that we first train our students and our faculty to leverage the GeoHub and to kind of take these projects with nonprofits to explore data and to explore how to perform particular analyses depending on what the project is. But then we say, a subset of those students, let's actually build your capacity by having you intern with these nonprofits over the course of the summer to really hone those practices. For those of y'all who've worked in data science and you work with folks who don't know data science, it's often there's this ambiguity that you have to kind of translate into something more meaningful and more useful to create this end project and this deliverable. And so really over the course of the summer, these students are faced with these difficult challenges. And then from there, you know, the nonprofit actually starts to learn how sustainable and how impactful data can be in terms of data-driven decision-making. And so what we're doing is we're actually helping build the capacity of these nonprofits so that they can, in turn, ask more precise questions for our faculty and students in the next year. And so we'll be talking a bit about that. But it's also important to mention that a lot of this work could not have been kind of come to the fruition in the way that it had if it wasn't for the NSF Big Data Grant, as well as our partners from the Western Big Data Hub and Esri. So kind of speaking towards the piece around faculty, that's actually one of the key components. We spend our fall semester training our faculty to really embed data literacy within their curriculums. Over the course of this semester, we had a professor in the Department of Education, professors in sociology, professors in computer information systems, and then a professor in art. And so it's actually really interesting to see how impactful these were. For example, what you're seeing on the very right-hand side, and I love doing demos, so if we have any extra time, feel free to ask me for them. But what we have here on the right-hand side is actually an example of something that was produced over this spring that just kind of terminated or ended, I think, on the 15th. And this one is actually kind of looking at a nonprofit that's centered in a community known as Lenox. It's a low-income neighborhood that actually looks towards improving kind of the educational attainment of, you know, the schools that are in that particular community. And so what these students actually did was create an interactive kind of tool for the nonprofit to look at robberies, crimes that are occurring within their particular neighborhood, and look at that in relationship to its distance and proximity to the schools. So again, these were actually education students. You know, I think it's a 2000 level course who had never, you know, thought to look at data or understand data, and yet what they actually have the opportunity to do, thankfully, to the kind of amazing work of our faculty after kind of training them, is they get to contextualize real work and real kind of challenges that some of our students may be facing, and finding ways to incorporate analytics to improve the work of our nonprofits. Another example that's worth highlighting is over the course of the summer, we have students interning at local nonprofits. And one of the nonprofits was known as City Plants. They are a nonprofit that provides plants to any resident in the city of Los Angeles. So before the summer intern, they just had Excel sheets that they would just get from their providers. They had no idea where, you know, they saw in a list where the addresses were, but they couldn't see it in relationship to, you know, all of their programs and where all of their trees have been planted. And this student actually created a macro script, which was great. They created a 10-page manual for the nonprofit to leverage the script, and then also created these maps that allowed this nonprofit for the first time to see the dispersion of where they had been planting trees for the past 5 years. And so this is actually a really great example of how a particular nonprofit's role has been kind of bolstered. And what we can actually see is that something that came out of that in my work with the city of Los Angeles is that the LA mayor actually committed to planting 90,000 trees by the end of this year. And the chief forestry officer is actually now looking at these data sets that the student created to actually leverage into this analysis that we're doing at the city around equitable tree planting. Really identifying where should we be planting these trees so that we can actually increase our tree canopy for all of our residents in a way that's meaningful for everyone. We also had an example of a student over the summer who built out a complete resource map for a nonprofit that provides Los Angeles regional reentry resources for folks who, you know, have recently, you know, are no longer incarcerated and are now kind of looking for resources. The student built this resource map, and after creating this resource map, what happened is the nonprofit applied for a 211 grant, receiving $175,000 to continue this work, coordinated effort. They then actually hired this student to continue mapping these particular resources as a result of this particular project. And I think that's something really important to highlight is, you know, these are a couple anecdotes of what's happened and some of the that's happened over a subset of the 7 scholars from our first year. We're actually beginning our second year, increasing our number of seed scholars from 7 to 12. And so as we're looking towards kind of refining our methods, we're looking to really make sure that we create as many impactful kinds of data projects for both our residents more broadly, specifically towards our nonprofits, and really enriching the experience of our students and our faculty to make sure that we're saying that data science is actually a tool for building capacity in an equitable manner for our students. And so I think that's really kind of where I stop, and we can kind of speak to some of the work that Dr. Ye is working on with the Direct STEM program.
Thank you. So my perspective is from STEM area. And so this project is supported by NASA Mirror project, is increase the research capacity. I think El Paso also have an engineering program similar to that. But our focus for the data, so our center called Data Intensive Research and Education Center for STEM. So the goal is to recruit and train students from underrepresented groups and inspire them to become future leaders in STEM-related professions with strong NASA science data competence. So NASA science data mostly is remote sensing products. So those are our focus to train students from all different majors. Next slide, please. We have 2 levels of student training or student engagement. One is a research students cohort. These students already have some skill of data visualization, the coding, and then we brought them in for the hands-on research with their thesis or research project, depends on undergraduate or graduate. And those students also has at least one summer internship at the NASA Center. So for the past 5 years, we have 102 students trained, and 70% are with students with colors, and 44% are female. Those are all underrepresented students group. And now, we already have 30 students who went on PhD or MS program, and 9 are actually hired by NASA, which is very, very interesting. That JPL is in the neck of the woods, very close by. Sometimes students finish internship, they continue work as research students during academic years. By the time they graduate, they are hired to working there. And the rest of these going on to STEM-related professional jobs, because with their skills we train, students can do different kinds of coding and be able to use multiple sets of different remote sensing data sets. So they are very desirable for all industries, in addition to the NASA-related contract workers and stuff like that. Next slide, please. Another one is more popular for a lot of students who don't have any background of coding competition. This we do the bi-weekly workshops. Mostly we'll concentrate on Python. Python is very new program language, and it's free and also apply to everyone, not only the scientific world, but also commercial and industry, and the Google and the Facebook. So we choose that training, which also embed into statistical skills, data visualization, and also learn to use different kind of data sets. And we had about 316 students finished at least 1 year's workshop series. And of these students, 92% are with color, and 36.4 are females. And most of these have graduated to move on to their life with different careers and our graduate schools. And so picture kind of show we have different cohorts. The top picture is one of the cohort students. They just finished our workshop, happy to take photos. And then this is how the classroom look like. Everybody have laptop, because we have sometimes 90 students or more in the big classroom. And we have 2 main instructors, and we have about 8 GAs, research students. They go around to help students. So the unique workshop is without any background experience, they can move to a certain level, be able to do Python, be able to do some kind of simple data analysis, kind of give a good foundation for the future career wherever they are going to be. I think those are the 2 slides I have. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's back to me, and I realize that we're like 2 minutes to 11, and if you all would be willing to just stay with us. I know Dr. Ye has to go off to a NASA meeting to talk about her project, but I just want to wrap up with this slide, and that is we really have to look at broadly the barriers that inhibit inclusion and diversity. Here are but a few. I'm sure you can make your own list. That is the effective use and advanced uses of technology. Sometimes our students do not have that kind of background. We assume that everybody has the same access, not only to computers, but various software. And the pandemic really illuminates that barrier or that gap and inequality. There is an anxiety that comes out of these underserved communities that starts in middle school around their sense of self-efficacy in terms of mathematics. Oh, I can do it, you can do it, or no, I can't do it, I can do it. The language around this. So when you say data science, people think you got to major in mathematics, computer science, engineering. But why not be in a social sciences? Why not just understand that everything, starting with your bank account, your ability to make money, is numerically oriented, and you need the skills in order to be engaged. Mentorship and advising is so critical. Amy's group talked about that in terms of how they're working with the students in student life and even at the department. Flexibility in training and development. A lot of times we think you got to go to place X. This is what the summer research program looks like. This is how you engage. And the reality of it is that flexibility coupled with, especially within the Latino community's framework, means that they have to go somewhere or separate themselves from how their family life affirms who they are and gives them that sense of connectedness as they move into new areas that will be psychologically challenging for them. Culturally relevant examples and problems to be solved. You heard Preston talk about this. The tree issue is not just for that nonprofit organization, it's also for the students who feel like their environments lack the beautification which will give them the psychological ease. And then authenticity in participation. A lot of times when we talk in academies or in corporates, it separates the students, and they often will say, well, what can I actually bring to the table? And so thank you. And I'm just going to stop there, but that's our presentation. And Steve, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, everyone. That was super awesome. It's great to see all of that work. We're running right up against 11 o'clock. I will